welcome back to the podcast. I want to make this episode today on what the best way to show up on social media is. So that way you can start maximizing getting engagement and, of course, getting clients from your content. Okay. Now, I just want to get this out of the way before we go into the content piece. If you are a coach, no matter what client demographic, what industry, or what type of coaching you offer, if you are not on social media regularly, then you are basically dead in the water. Content is the number one thing that I spend time on with all of our clients in C2C, because you cannot expect people who don't know you to first find you and then build trust with you and then decide that you're the coach for them if they, of course, never see or hear from you. Like, there's just no way that that's going to work. Okay. Now, I know that every single one of you are probably thinking, well, yeah, that's kind of obvious, Andrew. But here's the thing. For some reason, you're still not posting every day. You're not showing up at a daily level that you need to be in order for people to be able to find you. Now, do you want to know why? It's because you're exactly like a lot of the coaches that we work with, where you work really hard to craft the message and content. You make sure that you want to spend that time creating that content goes to the right platform to actually get the right engagement. And like, as an example for me, like, I remember when my hormone coaching company was doing content solely on Facebook, I posted 5 times a week. I did a weekly live called Tea and Teachings, and I showed up really diligently to give kind of great value on training and nutrition. And I wanted to make sure that all of the content was something that people had the tools, that they had the knowledge to be able to make whatever change that they wanted. You know what, though? After doing all of that for literally 2 whole years, I realized that Facebook was not the right place for my content. Like, my audience of that menopausal 40-year-old women, they weren't using it. They weren't engaging with it. They weren't communicating with me on there. And it was super frustrating. So day in and day out, here I am talking to the wind. I'm sharing my valuable knowledge. And it actually left me feeling super resentful of the time that I put in to create the content. And here's the problem with that. As a coach, when you get to that point, this is where you start to dread content and you build the story within yourself that maybe something like organic's not for me. Or like, oh, you know what, I'd create content, but it takes too long to create. Or that maybe instead of creating my own content, I should just chat GPT my content. This is where we get content block. This is where we get the feeling between, I want to get my message out there and I just need to put something out there, and I don't really care if it's quality or if it's absolute shit. That sucks, because that means that the future clients and people who are going to watch your content are not going to be the best of the level of the coach that you could be. They're not going to get the best from you. So the question really becomes, like, how do we get the best of this? How do we purposefully create content? How do we put it in the right place, but then not be attached to the outcome of who sees it, who engages, and of course, what's the result that we're going to get from it? So I want to start this podcast by going, like, this is how we actually use social media. Okay. Most people, when they're posting on social media, they're trying to post things for the purpose of direct sales. I want to post this piece of content so then I can get someone to directly engage with me. But that's not actually how social media is designed. So for the most part, when people create social media platforms or places where people can communicate, it's really about building a community and building awareness. That is what social media is primarily designed as. So when you're looking at how I can put my message in the right place, how I can get it to the right people, you need to look at delivering value and building a community first. And that means using specific things on different platforms to make sure that you're delivering the value in the right place. And then, of course, having a specific area for sales. So when it comes to Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, pretty much you have your standard kind of 4 or 5 things. You've got carousels, you've got posts, you've got reels, you have your stories, and then you're going to have your lives that you do. Those are the typical 5 that you should have regularly in your business. Now, it's okay to focus on 1 or 2 of those things, but what you need to also have, and this is the best way to show up on social media, is you need to have a channel in which you're delivering value. You need to have a channel in which you're creating engagement, and you need to have a space in which you are doing your selling. When you separate those spaces, what you're doing is you're training your audience to look at that specific area for that specific thing. So as an example with our hormone program, what we typically do is we have the Hormone Helper podcast, which you guys are listening into now, in which we are delivering long form content and value to everyone who wants to seriously invest time in their health. This is every single thing that I do, from the LinkedIn posts to my Facebook posts to even our Instagram reels, is all really to drive people to the podcast, because the podcast is where I'm going to spend a lot of time in their ear, really helping them understand their health, so that way they can make decisions on whether or not they need to make changes for their health. And then, of course, hopefully, they're going to choose me as their coach because they've gotten a lot of value from me. So that being said, when I'm looking at my social media, then if my long form content or my way to properly nurture people is the podcast, then the question is like, okay, well, what channel am I going to use? And also, what's the purpose of LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, all of that type of stuff? This is where typically we take a look at how people use social media. Most people are scrolling social media at 30 to 40 seconds at a time, and they're really just looking for something to relate and resonate to. And it's like quick little bits of digestive content for them to process and absorb. People are not going to read long form content on something like Facebook or Instagram. People are not going to watch a 5 minute or 10-minute video on any of that stuff, and they're not going to participate on a really large live. The most and greatest way to show up, the best way to show up on social media currently is through the sorts of reels. Having your main page as reels or carousels where people can absorb your content and your information 30 to 45 seconds at a time, where they can get in really super potent on a topic, you're really, really clear on a topic, and then something small to either lead them to the next piece of topic or to lead them to somewhere else. So the best way that I found that's worked with our clients in the C2C is using their actual feed for information. Give information, give value. Sure, you can have little call to actions and different story posts and stuff, but it's really about building trust where someone can continue to scroll. And if they're new, listen to 7 to 10 of your videos to be like, okay, this person's legit. Let me see if they have something long form that I can really digest. Because most people now are listening to multiple people. They have multiple coaches in their ear, and they're trying to figure out who's right, who's best, and who do I like, so then I can decide whether or not I want to work with them. So in using your main feed, you want to have your main feed reels, carousels, really, really short posts where it's maybe 1 to 2 pictures and then like a 30-second read where they can give a little bit of information. They can maybe apply 1 to 2 things in their life or in their lifestyle for them to be able to see some results. So the only other thing that we then implement with social media is our live to connect with our audience, and then our story. Lives are always great for you to do because when you hop on a live, what you're showing and what you're doing is you're basically showing like a free and live example of your coaching. So just like in the podcast, I'm always trying to show up the way that I would show up as a coach. The entire purpose of that is to show people who are listening to my content every day that this is what you are going to get. This is who you are going to be working with when you join the Fit for All Fitness crew and you become a part of our hormone programs. You're working with someone who speaks like this, who acts like this, and who's going to be very, very direct. So in the lives, I'm engaging with people. I'm answering questions. I'm talking like I would as a coach. I'm not holding anything back. So people can start to build trust in me and start to see value in what I do. And that leaves the last thing, which is the stories. Stories are where you should just sell. Your feed should not be for selling. You can have a couple of little call to actions, but really your lives and your stories are going to be where you are just always promoting something. Just like we're always giving value, If you're posting every day, you should always be sharing in your story the next offer, whether it's a free masterclass, whether it's a live program. And you should always have an offer that's ready to rotate. Don't be talking about the same thing every day, because what happens if there are other people who might connect to you at a different level? So what we do is, in using the stories, we have that 24 to 48-hour time frame where people are going to naturally be cycling through offers. They're going to be like, oh, this person has a program. They can continue to look through. The best part about stories is you can attach links to your programs, links to applications, where there's a limited time naturally, because that's the purpose of a story, but you can continue to repost and always be in their ear about the next thing. So as long as we have new offers, like for example, we have a Be Bloat Free Masterclass that we're going to be running at the end of June for our hormone clients. And then the following month, we're going to be advertising in our stories the How to Lose 10 Pounds Naturally with Food Masterclass. And then the month after that, no, actually, sorry, September month, August month, we're going to be going through the Master Your Menopause Masterclass. All of these things are free resources, but in cycling these offers and in always talking about a new thing, you get people, maybe with the bloat free, someone might struggle with bloating. And then, of course, you get them in on that versus someone struggling with weight loss versus someone struggling with hormones. I'm talking really about the same issue, but in stories, I'm talking about different struggles of that issue. So then we can work with them on balancing the hormones. When going into my feed, I want there to be so much value there that if someone goes, well, if he's giving away this much value for free, imagine what it's going to be like when I work with him. Imagine what it's going to be like when I choose to take him on as a coach. This is how you build relationships. Now, just like I've talked in the first previous episode of the CDC podcast about showing up consistently, making sure that you're posting every single day, there is kind of a sweet spot in terms of, I don't want to say how many posts, but how many times you are showing up, like doing a live at least once a week, posting on your story daily, and posting feeds or carousels on your feed daily. Those are the best things that you can do, because the algorithm is always going to be seeing something new and you're always going to be having fresh eyes. Now, the best way to do this is to then also combine this with something that's called a paid draw. And you could do this with Facebook ads or Instagram ads, in which you put a little 30-second video of maybe a couple of challenges that your client demographic struggles with, and then say, hey, if you really like this and you value this, then come and follow me on whatever platform you're on, to naturally lead new people to start going in. This is how you can build an audience very quickly. And all it takes is like $5 to $10 a day for more and more people to start following you on your feed while you're creating new content. Because what I find is a lot of beginner coaches, when they're starting into coaching or they're trying to promote a new program, they don't actually have enough of an audience yet to be able to like actually promote and talk to people. Like if you're, less than 400 or 500 people following you, it might be tough for you to get eyes initially. So we can boost that by just having interested people, because they're interested in the ad, naturally follow you. And of course, start to learn, understand, and get value from your content. That's how it continues to cycle and how it continues to get better. So in creating the reels on your feed, you want them to be value-based. You want them to be a combination of giving tools, a combination of giving knowledge, but then also a combination of sharing your story so they connect with you as a person, and then also ascending them as to who your best client is. I create a lot of content explaining how our clients buy, how our clients work with us, how our clients go through the process, what the mindset of our clients is. Because in creating this and mixing it with the knowledge and the tools, I'm not only showing someone how to properly use my content, but at the same time, I'm teaching people that if they're going to be the most successful through the process and working with me, they have to be, act, and embody a certain way in order for them to get the best result. And this is where, regardless of the size of your feed, you could have 200 people, but if they're the right audience, you're having 5 to 10 people reaching out every single month wanting to be a part of your program. It's really about building that consistency, though, in your social media. Now, in terms of what social media platform we pick, every single one of the platforms kind of has different demographics, and the demographics change all the time. Okay. But for the most part now, Facebook is for boomers. You have TikTok and Instagram, which now is that 37 to 57, and that's when you're going to get a heavy female base because most of the people using TikTok and Instagram are female, at least from a coaching perspective. Okay. Now, from a LinkedIn perspective, LinkedIn is more business or professionals. So if you're not coaching business owners or if you're not working with maybe teams professionally, I wouldn't even bother with LinkedIn because you're going to get more from TikTok and Instagram. TikTok is where all of the Gen Z are. This is where these guys are conditioned to buying organically. They want to know the person. They don't care about the brand. They don't give a shit about the name of your program. They are all about, do I like the coach? Do I like this person enough for them to be like, okay, I trust this person enough to buy? The more uncut your videos are, the more raw and real your videos are, the more unscripted something is, the more likely they are to connect with you because they don't buy into what I call like the TV commercial where everything is raw and clean. They don't buy it. They know it. They look through it. Millennials, on the other hand, millennials that are using Instagram, that are now starting to get into TikTok, these are more the people who kind of value like how long you've been in business, what your client testimonials are, what your clients have to say about you. They look at your Google reviews. So picking a platform is really first about picking like, is my audience there? Are they regularly communicating on this feed? And the easiest way to look at that is to search for other coaches who do exactly what you do. Search for them, look at their audience, look at the engagement, and see, is there enough of an audience there where I can see myself being on here? So again, going back to my personal example, when we were using Facebook for the first 2 years of us being online, it was absolute crickets. And the content was valuable. I know because I usually just repost it to Instagram. I was getting way more feedback and way more communication there than I was on Facebook. Facebook wasn't right for me. And one thing that I find is from a Facebook perspective, Facebook is more about long form content. It's more about building connections with family and friends than it is about actually finding, absorbing information and understanding what content's about. So for me, I chose to be on Instagram and then on LinkedIn because I'm working with a lot of professionals and they typically have a LinkedIn profile. Now, the easiest way for you to test this outside of searching up other people's demographics and looking at what other coaches are doing is to literally test it for 4 months. Put all of your content and show up daily in a specific platform and see what the results are. Sometimes, or I should say almost all the time, coaches want to do things really, really perfectly. And by doing it super perfect, you hesitate. You take a lot of time in, well, should I pick this platform? Should I do this platform? And because of that, because of your analysis paralysis, you don't 100% commit to the platform. Like my decision to switch from Facebook to Instagram was 3 days. And I basically just put a post out on Facebook and said, hey, I'm no longer posting here. I'm just going to be doing this for family. If you want to see my content, follow me on Instagram. And then, boom, just swapped over completely and started doing my thing. The faster you make that transition between platforms is the faster that you can figure it out. If you partner that with actually having a dedicated space for information and a dedicated way to always promote your offer, then you train your clients to look for that. So when I post a story, for example, people know now that stories are offers. I say, hey, something big is coming. Boom, I drop it in the story, and I have people who are immediately on it. They know to look for my story to look for whatever new program I have coming up. Versus on my feed, if someone is looking for more information, they know to go there and to look through other things. And I make it super clear by putting titles in the front of the reels and words, so people can search for stuff very easy and do it in a way that's convenient to them. The only reason why I have a podcast for two reasons. Okay. And this is exactly why I chose to do a podcast for the C2C. I can create long form content for 20 minutes to half an hour, clip it 7 different ways to Sunday, have 4 to 5 pieces of content that I can put on social media, and deliver long form value and nurture people who are wanting to listen to the entirety of the information. It's a win-win-win for me. I get long form content. I get to nurture people who are serious and want to invest more time listening to long form content. And I don't have to go out of my way to create a second, third, or fourth piece of content, because I can just clip what I've spoken about and then just post it up again. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use social media, and it doesn't have to be hard. But you have to make your page super clear in order to get engagement and in order to get clients. If people don't know where to go to listen to you speak, if people don't know where to go to get information from you, if they are confused as to what your feed is, or they're even confused about what your profile looks like are they a coach? Are they helping with this? Where do I go next? Then they're just always going to be in a state of limbo. And this is where people can have really large followings. Like I work with a couple coaches now where they have really large followings, like 12,000, I think 22,000 for the other person. But it's like, I don't get it. I have 22,000 people following me and no one is reaching out to work with me on my programs. And it's like, great. Well, you don't have a place where you're giving an offer consistently, so people don't know to look there. Sometimes it's at the end of your video. Sometimes it's at the end of your captions. Sometimes it's on your story. And so what happens is you leave kind of like a 30% chance that someone's going to find it between one of the three, and that's not consistent. So by doing it consistently in a place, then you show your people where that is. So for example, if I'm doing a live video, I say, hey, I'm going to post something on my story later, and it's going to be super phenomenal. Train them to look there every time. Same thing with my captions. It's either, hey, see the beginning of my bio for whatever, or the link of my bio for whatever's next, or check out my stories later on where I'm going to be doing X, Y, and Z. We keep talking about it that way. And the last thing that I'll hammer until this podcast literally is finished 15 years from now or whatever is like consistency. It has to be daily promotion, daily selling, daily posting. Because if you want to be able to get clients daily, that's what you need to do. What you put in is exactly what you get out when it comes to content and social media. Now, that being said, don't just put junk out there. Take your time to actually put what people want, but don't be over invested into like what comes from just one single post. And here's another thing that I'll say too before I finish up this episode. A lot of coaches not only want to put it in a perfect place, and they're not consistent with where they're putting the content, but they become hyper focused on, oh, I posted and I only got 3 views, so I guess this was a crap piece of content and I'm never going to post anything like that again. When the reality is that people will spend months to years looking at your content, and some people may never like it. Some people may never ever comment, but they are still saving it, sharing it, absorbing it. they're watching it later, and it's all of those things added up that's going to build enough trust in you for someone to reach out. And this is where you'll get random reach outs. People who reach out and say, oh, hey, Andrew, like I've been watching and listening to your stuff for the past 3 years. I'm ready to work with you. And it's going to surprise you, but you shouldn't be surprised. It's the culmination of each post, the combination of your daily consistency and effort. It's not one post. It's not about going viral. If you look on my feed for Andrew underscore hormone helper, not a single one of my videos are viral. You will not see anything viral on there, but I'm talking to my audience. I'm super clear with the way I'm talking. I'm showing up regularly every single day. And in turn, that's how I'm getting the engagement I need to convert the clients into, of course, our hormone reboot program and our other hormone programs. So that's all for this episode. Stay tuned for another episode of C2C. Remember, we're going to be doing this every single week that I'm going to be putting out an episode for the C2C podcast. And one thing as well, too, if you are a coach and you are listening to this, or a business owner, an entrepreneur, and you're like, hey, this is super valuable. I'm trying to work on my content. Share this with other business people, because a lot of time people spend silently confused about what social media is actually for. They try to sell only, they try to provide information only when it needs to be a hybrid of both. So this episode and future episodes of the C2C can really provide a lot of clarity for them. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Bye.